Because everybody's running around trying to save the planet. The planet doesn't need that. The planet will take care of itself. People are selfish, and that's what they're doing, trying to save the planet for themselves to have a nicer place to live. They don't care about the planet. They just care about having a comfortable place. And these people with the fires and the floods and everything, they overbuild, they put nature to the test, and they get what's coming to them. That's what I say. Well, and I can't wait for the sea levels to rise. I can't wait for some of these cities to disappear.
I can't swim, George.
There are places that are going to go away. The map is going to change, and that's because people think nature is outside of them. They don't take into them the idea that we're part of it. They say, oh, we're going for a nature walk. We're going to the country because we like nature. Nature's in here, and if you're in tune with it, like the Indians, the Hopis especially, the balance of life, the balance, the harmony of nature, if you understand that, you don't overbuild. You don't do all this moron stuff. It's a symphony. Everybody's in the band. You know, it's not just one. It's not just one group. People want their goodies. They want their toys. Everybody wants the newest gizmo. We're slaves to gizmos and toys. Everybody wants a cell phone that'll make pancakes, and I think that'll make them happy. Secrets of happiness is finding something you love and doing it well and then being recognized for it. Someone, even if it's one person who says you're doing a great job, or if it's applause. I said to my wife at that time when I changed, I said, you know, even if I only filled coffee houses 3 days a week for the rest of my life, I'd be happy doing that. And when you let go of goals and stuff, the attachment to goals, that's when things come to you. You should have an aim point, but not a thing like that.
There is a growing citizens movement demanding an explanation of chemtrails.
I talked to my NSA buddies at Fort Carson, Peterson Air Force Base, and Buckley, where I was actually their doctor, taking care of the pilots flying and spraying the chemtrails. So I know it's real. If anybody says it's not real, they're full of it.
It's not the same as conducting some localized test for some defensive project. This is open air operation. It's not a test. This thing is in place.
And now you can summer like 4,000 feet, and there's these big clouds behind you.
social networking devices such as even Rupert's MySpace. This is really getting out in such a way that they can't control it. They must just be really, expression, shitting themselves over this because they can't control people now talking about the elephant in the room. It's so obvious to all of us.
There's a feeling from that area that the state doing all of these other modification programs might not be doing it for the benefit of the citizens of Texas and other states, that they may impact as well.
Well, many of the planes that we're seeing here in Abilene will actually turn whatever they're spraying on and off right before our eyes. I mean, you'll see a plane up there flying like normal, and then all of a sudden it starts spraying. We've seen them fly off into the distance and then loop around and fly back again. These are not your typical planes with a preordained path destination from city to city. Someone needs to explain to me why do they stop traveling in one particular direction and then loop around and come back again. They perform this behavior so many times that we start seeing the tic-tac-toe grids in the sky. We're witnessing the giant X's. And I mean, Rosalind, when you and I grew up, these contrails naturally dissipated in a few seconds or perhaps a minute max. But these things expand, they grow bigger, and before you know it, the entire sky is overcast.
That's correct. And they are there all day. They do loop around our county and our state. We follow them at times with spotters in different areas, watching these planes loop, come back around. And we know from the FAA records that the jets from commercial are usually flying straight lines and coming across their county. Arguably, there aren't many. They stay located in certain. The jets that we see leaving the contrails move in directions that normal jets wouldn't fly because they use too much fuel and put them off schedule. And the jets that we see here do loop. We've got pictures of them looping the same X's and crosshatches. But I believe that some of that, not only are they looking for in the air almost all the time, but we feel that some of the markings are to mark the start and stop areas for their program so that they can watch their experiments with different satellites around.
Why don't they want us talking about it? And you can only come to the conclusion that they're hiding something.
Now, do you believe that this is a full-scale secret operation that includes not only the U.S. but Europe and the rest of the world?
Well, that's apparent because you can see the pictures from all over the world, and I get them constantly. Some areas are worse than others. The excuse for this is, number one, weather modification, number two, to save us from global warming, and number three, to save us from the terrorists. A lot of these programs, of which there are many patterns and which has been designated as wake vortex simulation carried out by NASA Langley Research Center, many of these operations and the patents go on to explain how if there is a biological attack by terrorists at some point, that these exercises and practices will, in a sense, save us with the spider webbery that comes down from the aerosol spraying, potentially gathering the chemical mass spray that could be sprayed on any given population. The problem with that is the terrorists don't have the means to deliver this. They don't have the access to deliver this over the American populace, per se. And the only people who have been doing this, that is biological experiments on the American people, is the military themselves, which has been admitted from everything from Operation Shad to the spraying that happened in San Francisco, I believe back in the 60s and the 70s, that literally killed people.
Again, I may not be able to ascribe intent, but what I can say is that it is expected that there will be increased mortality as well as the potential of a huge host of unknown pathogens that we are subject to, and this is not based on speculation. There's a whole arena of biological research that we haven't even begun to touch on.
Could a strange substance found by a Southwest Arkansas man high levels of barium found in our sample? We decided to contact Louisiana Department of Environment.
The official explanation here is that jet contrails are causing strange lines to shine, and barium has embodied. Short-term exposure can lead to anything from stomach to chest pains. Long-term exposure causes blood pressure problems. Ryan addressed concerns by chemtrail researchers that barium could be meant to wear down a person's immune system.
We're talking about dominating our air supply without the human consent in a way that is difficult for many of us certainly to conceive, and certainly many of us refuse to accept it even in the light of sufficient and overwhelming evidence.
There is a HARP facility directly where the beam appears to be originating from. It's called the Ice Gas Ram George Carlin facility. The island that everybody was seeing this thing over is the northernmost part of Norway called Tromsø, a little island. And they were looking southeast, and that's where they were seeing it was coming from the southeast. And this HARP facility is directly southeast of Tromsø. So the location matches perfectly. What we're seeing is definitely not a rocket, because if you look at some of the pictures that are released on the Norwegian websites, you have 18 layers in the spiral. You also can see, if you look at the Daily Mail link, that there is a photograph of it taken in infrared, and the heat signature of the spiral is so substantial that in infrared it actually shows up very bright. Now, that's something they slipped in there. They didn't actually mention why that's important. But you have to remember, the stuff that's coming off the edge of a rocket is going to lose heat very quickly once it hits the atmosphere. You need viscosity more like motor oil or chocolate pudding to have something that can resonate enough to create waves that are 18 layers thick. It's not going to happen in the atmosphere from a regular rocket. It's not. The conventional explanation is actually laughable. But of course, the other big part of the story is that at the end, you see this black hole that shows up. The spiral turns into a black hole, which widens very substantially. There's one video in particular where you see this black hole make a very sudden, wide movement. And it's very, very obvious when you look at this that what you're seeing is some kind of projection from the ground. The problem is, the infrared signature is so high in terms of the amount of heat coming off of this thing that you would literally need not kilowatts of power, but gigawatts of power in order to run something that would generate that much light and that much temperature. And of course, HARP facility would have just the right amount of power mapped into it already to be able to use for a purpose like this. I will say that I also got an email from an insider. All I can say is she's very knowledgeable, and she said in no uncertain terms, this is blue beam. This is exactly what it does. This is what it looks like in blue beam. So if that's true, then the spiral is only one of any of a variety of things that they could do with it, which I would agree with. I think that these mystery halos you've seen over Russia, and I believe there's also one in somewhere around Bosnia, they are obviously UFO-like in the way they look, and they are bright glowing rings in the air which have been filmed by people in their cars and put on the nightly news in Russia to the effect of making people ask the question, hey, do you think this is a UFO? The missile story might be like a comfortable place that you can reside in for a while to kind of like keep your worldview from falling apart. But I see this very much as people trying to knock down the wall and get to the truth of what's really going on with disclosure here. I have found video of this exact same spiral thing that showed up in Norway, but there's videos of it from 2006 in Russia, and there's a video of it in China published in April 2009 on the internet. Now that doesn't mean it was made in April 2009, that just means that we know that it can't be any newer than that. And the one from China actually spins first clockwise and then briefly counterclockwise, and then it dissipates the same as the other one. The one in Russia actually does almost exactly the same thing as we're seeing this one do over Norway. It is a spiral. You can see the same rotating thing, and it's like a beam that consolidates into the spiral. Richard Hoagland has proven that the end location of the beam is HAARP. We know that. That's now a fact. What we don't know is, did HAARP make the beam from the ground up into space, or is the beam going from space down to HAARP? The point that I want to make on that front is that we've seen other examples before of UFOs appearing over such things as nuclear missile installations, and even in the air, riding alongside missiles as they're being tested. Could this also be something that was perhaps offsetting HAARP-based electromagnetic mind control? This is obviously related to disclosure. We've had very high-level sources telling us something is going on. They're getting ready to make an announcement.
Years ago, many years ago, back in 1972, I was sitting at my desk at about 4:30 in the morning at the headquarters of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, arranging the information that had come in over the last 24 hours into a logical order so that we could prepare a briefing for the Admiral and his staff, which would take place later that morning. Among the papers I found on my desk was a document entitled Operation Majority, and it was not the entire paperwork involving this operation, but was merely a synopsis of the operation and projects contained under it. One of these projects was called Project Red Light. The purpose, according to this document, was to back engineer captured extraterrestrial technology for adaptation into the United States space program. Now, I have since come to believe that the extraterrestrial portion of all of this is nonsense, but that the technology is real. I believe that many of us were shown these documents over the years so that later we would talk about it and how can you keep the existence of extraterrestrials, if they were real, a secret. And how could anyone keep quiet knowing that they had seen documentation, official government document labeled top secret, that expressed that these extraterrestrials were real and had visited this Earth? I wanted to know just how true all of this was, and I began a program of research to find out if extraterrestrials were real. The first thing I did was collect every bit of documentation that I could find, both from the Freedom of Information Act, from the research of others, from books that had been printed on the subject of UFOs, and of course through my network of friends in the intelligence community. What I discovered was amazing. What I discovered, ladies and gentlemen, is that there has been a plan in existence since about 1917, and probably before that, to create an artificial extraterrestrial threat to this Earth in order to create a one-world totalitarian socialist government. One of the first documents that I found in my search was this one, the Imperial Japanese Mission 1917, a record of the reception throughout the United States of the special mission headed by Viscount Ishii. And when the Imperial Japanese Mission was in New York City, they had a dinner, and some pretty famous people spoke at this dinner. One of them was John Dewey. John Dewey is the father of our failing, disastrous public education system. Here's what he said. Listen very carefully. John Dewey, professor of philosophy in Columbia University, who was the next speaker, was listened to with great intentness. He said, quote, "Someone remarked that the best way to unite all the nations on this globe would be an attack from some other planet. In the face of such an alien enemy, people would respond with a sense of their unity of interest and purpose." Unquote. Now, bear in mind, folks, that's 1917. One of the next documents that I found, and I found quite a few, but one that's pretty important is called the Report from Iron Mountain, the probability and desirability of permanent peace. Now, I encourage you to find this book, wherever you can find it. I don't know where you can get it, but find it. Page 66. Credibility, in fact, lies at the heart of the problem of developing a political substitute for war. This is where the space race proposals, in many ways so well suited as economic substitutes for war, fall short. The most ambitious and unrealistic space project cannot of itself generate a believable external menace. It has been hotly argued that such a menace would offer the last best hope of peace, etc., by uniting mankind against the danger of destruction by creatures from other planets or from outer space. Experiments have been proposed to test the credibility of an out-of-our-world invasion threat. It continues on another page. Nevertheless, an effective political substitute for war would require alternate enemies, some of which might seem equally far-fetched in the context of the current war system. It may be, for instance, that gross pollution of the environment can eventually replace the possibility of mass destruction by nuclear weapons as the principal substitute for war. Are you beginning to get the message, folks? Poisoning of the air and of the principal sources of food and water supply is already well advanced, and at first glance would seem promising in this respect. It constitutes a threat that can be dealt with only through social organization and political power. But from present indications, it will be a generation to a generation and a half before environmental pollution, however severe, will be sufficiently menacing on a global scale to offer a possible basis for a solution. However unlikely some of the possible alternate enemies we have mentioned may seem, we must emphasize that one must be found of credible quality and magnitude if a transition to peace is ever to come about without social disintegration. It is more probable, in our judgment, that such a threat will have to be invented rather than developed from unknown conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, they have created so many alternate enemies in order to bring about their one-world totalitarian social state that we don't know which enemy to believe is real or is false, or whether to just toss them all out in their ears. And I think that is probably going to be the best solution. Disarmament is no accident. All of these bills in Congress to take away our weapons is no accident. The intentional environmental pollution of our lakes, rivers, streams, oceans, forests, everything is no accident, as you just heard. These things were planned many, many years ago. All the bombardment of the public with movies about flying saucers in the 50s, right after the United Nations Treaty was signed and the UN Participation Act was pushed through Congress, and all of the incidents since that have convinced the majority of the American people that flying saucers are real and extraterrestrials exist, and that flying saucers are from an extraterrestrial origin. This is being promulgated in many ways, by television commercials, in the movies, in the newspapers, by creating incidents either real or imagined. I believe, because of my research, because of the extensive documentation that I've found and that is in my book, that this whole scenario has been created to give us an artificial alien threat from outer space. During the Reagan administration, he made 6 speeches specifically talked about a threat from outer space by some of the species from some other planet. 6, ladies and gentlemen. Why would the president repeat the same thing 6 times, tagged on to the ends of speeches by him? The speechwriters did not put that in the speech. Ronald Reagan added it himself.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This was a powerful suggestion to implant into the minds of the people of the world that there really is a threat from some other species, from some other planet to this Earth. Now, you people out there have been ignoring the UFO phenomenon for too long. It has all the earmarks of the most successful, most sophisticated mind control operation in the history of the world, and you are ignoring it. What better way to implement a plan to bring about a one-world government than to create the possibility in the minds of the people of the world that we are being threatened from some other species, from some other planet, and do it in a way that if anybody questions it or challenged it or wants to talk about it publicly, that they are ridiculed.
And the ultimate goal is to make the Earth look very small, to present the people of the world with an external threat to this Earth, a superior race from some other planet, vastly superior to us in intellect, philosophy, and technology, in order to cause the dissolution of nation-states, the dissolution of all existing religions, and the formation of the world totalitarian socialist government.
Every one of you listening to my voice, tell the world, tell this to everybody wherever they are. Watch the skies everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the skies.
Suponíamos que esas esferas viajaban en el interior de las naves, pero nunca lo habíamos visto así. Y luego pues el objeto como da de vueltas, luego esas como llegan a darle, mira, aquí en cámara lenta las vemos. Caramba, una de ellas ya se da la boleta y se va, ¿no? Evidentemente es un movimiento inteligente, ¿no? Claro que no hay duda, es que no es un comportamiento más allá, ¿no? De todo lo que hemos visto en la escuela, ¿no? Tú has grabado muchos videos, pero ¿es este el que más te gusta? Pues realmente sí, ¿no? Porque ya cuando al revisarlo noto que salen esas cantidades de esferas, bueno, la verdad ya es otra cuestión, ya dices, ah, caray, esto sí, esto sí como aquí, impactado. Mira, lo más extraordinario para mí, bueno, tuviste suerte al grabar el video, pero donde no hubo suerte, es que en un año ha logrado más de 200 videograbaciones de estas estructuras que desafían las explicaciones convencionales. Uno de ellos me llamó poderosamente la atención, ya que sus movimientos eran muy interesantes, eran repetitivos, constantes y exactos.
So unless there is some millionaire in Mexico playing games which we don't think so, we have to look for the answer.
High above the earth, grouped together with no explanation. These clips show what's being described as swarms of UFOs. Earlier this year in Seoul in South Korea, a crowd gathers to stare up beyond the skyscrapers to the sky. A group of objects hover above the centre of the city for a few seconds, then they disappear. Mexico 3 years earlier, a very similar sight. Clearer this time, the group of white objects are baffling the people below. Zooming in still closer, we find that there are even smaller groupings. Over New York City last year, what looks at first like the vapor trails of aeroplanes. Closer inspection reveals there are dozens of apparent objects, seemingly arranged in some sort of formation. Just before the footage comes to an end, one of the objects appears to come much closer.